So I'm going to position myself as the bad guy here and share some stories just to get your opinion on this because I've had, like I mentioned earlier, I've had a couple kids on my team that I coach that I know are ADHD. Like parents have come to me with that, and I know like I've even had kids who like they didn't say ADHD specifically, but they said, "Hey, this kid's on the autism spectrum and they have some ADHD," and so like these are kids that I absolutely love, and I'm thrilled that they were part of all these teams. But there are nights where their focus is so non existent or their effort is so poor. Or, like you mentioned a minute ago, they're interrupting every single thing I'm trying to instruct or talk about to the point that, like, I can't actually get the stuff out. That it distracts from the other kids on the field. And I have to spend extra time trying to get them to lock in or to focus or to deal with these big emotions that they're having. And I don't get to coach the other kids who aren't struggling in the same ways. And I have this core belief that every kid should have a place to play. And I believe rec league is for everyone. But there's a frustration there as the person responsible for not just that one kid, but the 9, 10, 11 other kids on the team. So, do you have any advice or encouragement for the other youth coaches who are trying to create a great environment for everyone where being inclusive sometimes actually leads to excluding the kids who aren't struggling?
Yeah, and I don't think you're positioning yourself as the bad guy. It sounds like it's a real conversation that I think is happening in a lot of different settings. And I think there's layers to it. I think tangibly, just as the coach, I think there's some really small behavior modification things that I even have done with my college athletes. And it was funny because ESPN picked up on this about 3 years ago with a softball team that I was working with. And I deliberately put fidgets in our dugout just to give something for. And it was targeted at a handful that I knew that were part of that team, and to give them something to kind of in the moment is something to fidget with, something to distract them a little bit, in ironically distracting them to help them focus better. Because one of the weird things with ADHD is that, and I've made this joke before, some of the surefire ways to know an ADHD kid is paying attention are all the things that we tend to vilify. It's the poor eye, like your college story a few minutes ago. It's poor eye contact, computers open, everything looks distracted. They're usually focused. And the quick joke I make is if an ADHD kid is making eye contact with you, they're not paying attention. Because they are struggling so hard to focus on eye contact, they're not processing a lot of other stuff. And I say all that to say again, little things that we can do, the fidgeting or having chewing gum or sunflower seeds that can go along with. There's some little behavioral things that we can do at that level. But I also come back to if a child is at that level of, I don't want to say disruption because I agree wholeheartedly that there's a place for every kid. I'm a firm believer in that. I would also wonder how they're showing up at school, how they're showing up at home, and hoping that there could be some conversations with parents on, hey, I can have gum in the dugout, or we can do fidgets, or we can make instruction very very short. And one of the hockey teams that I coached, we had 3 4 kids that are like what you're describing. I would have intermittent dance breaks in between, especially the teaching parts of. And the way I framed it was, hey, let's do our best Fortnite emote, and then I'm going to talk for about 2 minutes. Here's what we're working on today. And I had a whistle I would blow, dance break, and they would all start doing their Fortnite emotes and kind of work out some of the energy. And then I would bring them back. We'd talk for a few minutes. It can be frustrating, but at the same time, trying to manage what you're working with and still make it fun and enjoyable for them. You can do the behavior mod stuff, but if it's that level of disruption too, hopefully engaging the parents and trying to partner with the parents. Hey, how can we help overall? Because I'm assuming this might not be the only place where it's happening. I think there's a graceful way to have that conversation because at some point of what you're describing, you probably do need a level of professional support in that as well. What some form of a treatment plan involved to help mitigate across the board.
How does that change as you go up in competition level? So maybe you're a club or a travel team, or you're getting into middle school and high school sports. How, like, is there a level of where the kids should be held a little more responsible to
I think
maybe
yes,
quote unquote
yeah,
act out?
absolutely. And I do think, especially as you because a lot of what I was just the last part of what I was saying, I think is really applicable to rec level youth sport. I do agree as you start going up in competition, and I know we're not in a place to do this yet, but back to the 20% rule, and in some cases, I really wish we could let kids play down at a level to match their cognitive level, not their chronological age. I think you would see. There would be, I think, a natural fit. I think a lot of it would be mitigated at that level. I know we're not going to get there at this point. And again, I'm selfishly thinking about my son in particular. Man, if he could play down and play another year of middle school or something, I think it'd be phenomenal. But no, I think the accountability piece needs to be there, and I think too that's modeling great behaviors for the kids that they're going to have, especially as you're getting into like high school age or looking at at that possibly college level. A lot of college sports, it's a business at this point, just like having a job, and there's going to be standards we have to uphold. And I think we can model a lot of those behaviors. But yes, I think the accountability piece goes up, and that's again where the professional help can show up as well to help get them aligned with where we're trying to go.